better get ready for Saturday night, 'cause this old man gonna treat you right. Press my suit and shine my shoes, and we're going downtown to dig some blues. Hey, baby, you better get ready. Ready to roll. You better get ready, darling, for all my loving, 'cause here comes Saturday night. It's all right. I know my baby gonna look her best, sipping pink champagne in a party dress. Give me that music with a fat backbeat to get my baby up and out of her seat. Hey, baby, you better get ready. Ready to roll. You better get ready, darling, all my loving. Here comes Saturday night. Better get ready. Better get ready. Ready to rock and roll. Oh, yeah. All right. Hey, baby. Ready to roll. You better get ready, darling, all my loving, 'cause here comes Saturday night. It's all right. All right now. All right. All right. All right. Yeah.
All right, welcome to the Timmy Willis Show. Today you're in for an extraordinary treat. As you can see, we have two very talented individuals here. They go by the name of Mr. Bobby Wayne and Mr. Jimmy Wildroot Darling. How y'all doing? Give me some.
I'm doing fine.
I'm so happy you came on, man.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you know that first song y'all did was jamming.
Yeah.
Was that a cover tune or
No,
was that original?
It's original tune written by Mr. Wildroot.
Wow, that was great. So, what was you thinking about when you wrote that? I mean, how did that song come about?
I would have to say that primarily it was that little rhythm lick that I got going. That got me started on it, you know, and it just felt like such a nice upbeat thing that nothing goes with that like Saturday night. So it was a pretty natural progression from me.
So is that how you write? You come up with the musical part first, and then
Usually,
and then add to that, or
that'll be something that'll catch me, because I think what it was is when I was a beginning guitarist, I would always try and play something of my own because that way no one could criticize me and compare me to other people.
Yeah.
So I come up with something of my own, and then no one could say anything about it. And after enough years of trying it, I started coming up with some good ideas.
Cool, cool. Well,
So
Jimmy,
far.
where were you born?
I'm from the area here, Pittsburgh. I was actually born down deep in the South and then brought north into the D.C. area. And then before I even knew what was happening, I was here in the Pittsburgh area.
I mean, say from the ages of 10 to 5.
By the time I was 10 years old, I was here in Pittsburgh. And
Oh,
that
really?
wasn't long after that I was actually working as a musician.
Is that right?
Yeah, I started Clareton VFW, my first gig.
Well, what was it about the guitar that caught your interest?
I think probably just seeing guys on the television, Ed Sullivan's show, and it really wasn't long after that I was introduced to the blues. A friend of mine's father was a collector and had the Alan Lomax recordings that were the real legitimate early blues, the first Muddy Water recordings and Sonny Terry and a few others that just, I fell in love as soon as I heard the first one.
Yeah.
And I knew that had to be it for me.
Yeah, well, you when you met Mr. Bobby Wayne, we're going to talk about that later, but we want to hear about how you guys got together.
Yeah.
But Mr. Wayne,
Yes, sir.
where were you born?
I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
What part?
Hill District.
You from the Hill District.
I'm from the Hill District.
What was it like for you growing up back then?
Well, back then, man, I was a young guy then, so I mean,
Yeah, what
and
was
the
it
war was just over.
Okay.
Okay, because I was born in '44. The war was over in '45. So primarily, I was just being an average, kid.
Yeah, well, what did you do for fun as a kid back then?
Fun?
Yeah.
Fun was fighting.
Are you serious?
Yeah, man. I had a bad reputation.
Really?
Yeah. Oh man, that was fun for me. I mean, my cousins, my uncles, man. That was all they come here, boy.
Yeah. Tusslers.
So yeah, so that's what I did.
Yeah.
And then I found out when we moved to Sugartop. At that time, was I forget the name of the station, but Mary D. And that was the first time I heard Frankie Lyman sing.
Okay.
It had just come out, Why Do Fools Fall in Love? And I was just going into high school, well, junior high. Man, that's when I discovered girls.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what was it about the art of singing that caught your interest?
Well-
What made you want to start singing?
My father sang,
Okay.
but he sang gospel.
Yeah.
He taught my mother gospel as far as singing and put their group together. So that held something for me, but I didn't want to sing gospel. I did, but that was because of my dad and my mom.
You had to sing it.
In
so
church, and so after that, then when I got to the point where I could do what I wanted to do in high school, I'd see, me and a couple of guys would get together and put together a little group. Lunchtime, when we come back from lunch, we stand out in the yard and sing. And it was bouncing off the walls, and the girls were screaming. And I said, "Oh, this is for me."
Yeah, you was bitten, huh?
I was bitten.
Yeah. Now, but back in grade school and all that, when you were singing in the New Canadian Baptist Church,
New
right?
Canaan.
New Canaan Baptist Church. What was that like for you? I mean, when you're singing in front of people at an early age,
It never bothered me.
So you never got
No,
butterflies or nothing?
no,
You felt real comfortable.
I was nervous, but butterflies, I wouldn't say. Once the music started, it was over.
Yeah.
I was hooked.
So back in high school, when you got the guys together and all that, what kind of stuff was y'all singing? I mean,
Everything by the Moonglows, Flamingos, Dales, Frankie Lyman, Schoolboys, all that. I mean, all the classic stuff.
yeah.
Because at that time, let's see, I was about 13, 14. And Frankie Lyman had a range. I topped his
Yeah.
at that age.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then as I got older, it changed, you know. But I enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I was right where I wanted to be as far as the music was concerned. Everything else could be going south or in the tubes. As long as the music was there, I was even keeled, you know. Well, I enjoyed it. I still do.
Okay.
I still do. I mean, music is just in me. It completes me.
Okay. Now, what about the exceptions?
Oh, yeah. Well, after at that time I was 19?
Okay.
I just got out of reform school. And one day I come home and my mother says to me, she said, boy, she said, what you done now? I said, I didn't do nothing, Ma. She said, well, there's been some boys coming around here looking for you. I said, oh, okay. So I just waited one day and didn't come home when I should have came home so I could see who was coming around and looking for me. And here was two guys. I walked up, I said, hey, y'all looking for me? He said, yeah, man, we heard you could sing. Who told you that? I said, man, we'd have heard about you. We need another voice. You know, we got 4, we need a lead. I said, well, okay, when y'all rehearsing? He said, well, we're rehearsing right now. He said, we can go down there now. Everybody's there. So I did. So that's when I met the other guys. Floyd Beck on guitar.
Floyd Beck, yeah.
Rodney Mason on James Russell, Philip Cox, Sherman McKay, and me. And we started rehearsing. From then on, man, I was in.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff were you guys doing?
Any and everything.
Is that right?
Yeah. We didn't pick no special. We did a little bit of everything so that we could work anywhere.
Right.
You know, that was the premise.
Now let me ask you this: were you guys gigging?
Yeah, first gig we got was up at Conneaut Lake.
Get out of here.
There was a hotel down the road, across from the park, and a guy had come to town around picnic time, and Sherman knew the guy's nephew. And he said, well, you know, we trying to get somebody up there to play at the hotel. So he came over and he heard us. He said, oh man, he said, y'all fit perfect. And we worked up there for we had 2 months up there. Each of us made $200 a week. Room and board was included. And at that time, 19, 20 years, I'm coming home with $200.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was the stuff, you know. And we stayed up there, like I say, about 2 months. And after that, then everything we come back home. And it was about that time I made the mistake of getting married. Oh man, that woman.
You say marriage and that musical life doesn't
At
mix.
that time, no way.
Okay.
She didn't have no problem with me bringing the money home. She didn't like the idea when we work somewhere, the women in the audience screaming and she didn't like that.
Yeah.
So I told her, I said, well, look, just don't come, because I'm not going to quit. So that's what broke that up.
So how long did that group stay together and
I
what
think we
made
stayed
it dissolve?
The Vietnam War.
Is that what did it?
Yeah. James Russell, he was drafted, and then Rodney was drafted. So that killed that.
Well, Van Harris and the Village Vanguards.
I didn't meet them till in '64. You know, one night I went out. It was my 21st birthday. I went out to the Workman's Club, and it was early. And I asked the owner. Somebody introduced me to the owner. Asked him. Well, at the time, Lou Brock was playing there. It was a jazz evening thing. I asked him. I said, would you mind if I sit in? He said, no. He said, what you want to? Can you sing? I said, yeah. So I sat in, and I sang "The Masquerade Is Over." That was before Georgia even did a masquerade.
Right.
And when I finished, everybody in the bar was buying me drinks. I'm saying, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I said, I ain't trying to get drunk. But anyway, he gave me, then Van was in the audience, and Frankie Avery had just quit them and moved. And he asked me, he said, man, who you singing with? I said, nobody. He said, well, would you like to sing with my band? I said, yeah, well, I'll check it out. I said, I ain't gonna say right off I'm gonna commit to it. I said, let me see what you got. He said, okay. So, Van was Teenie Harris's son.
Okay.
So
One shot.
one shot.
Yeah.
I mean, and I went out and we rehearsed, and I was impressed by the musicians. Butch McGee was on guitar. Eugene Smith was on bass. Woody. David Sugarcane was on organ. Who else was it?
We got Jimmy Norman
Jimmy Norton was on trumpet.
and George Green.
George Green was on saxophone. And that was the man I shoot. And when we started, we put it together, and the first tunes we did was Going Out of My Head and I'll Be Doggone.
Yeah.
Man, and everything just, I said, whoa, okay. So I was proud to join that.
Yeah.
We had a ball.
So you got a lot of work with that group?
With them, we worked all over the city. I mean, we worked at least 5 nights a week. 5 nights a week. At that
That's
time,
pretty
everybody was doing weekends.
Right.
And then we left there and we hooked up with WZUM,
Okay.
Al Germany and Bobby Bennett. And they rented the Savoy Ballroom. And we gave shows there every Saturday night. Dollar a head. And they said we only could hold, like, say, 800 kids. We was putting 15 in there easy.
Is that right?
Yeah, man. We had a...
Now, what was that like for you, man? That sounds
Hey,
exciting. What was going through your head? I mean,
At that time, man, I wasn't thinking about nothing.
Yeah.
I was having a ball.
you was having a
I
ball.
was having a ball. And then Van booked us with an agency, Mr. Roy Cooper up in Montreal. He put us in a room up there called Rockhead's Paradise. Man, that was I got up there, I said, oh man, I didn't hit the lottery.
From the Hill District of Canada.
In Montreal, Canada.
Yeah, that's doing some show no
Yeah, man.
serious singing.
Hey, man, I was having a ball, I'm telling you.
Now, I'm understanding that you opened for and backed some of the top R&B acts at the time, including Five Stair Steps, the Van Dykes, Billy Stewart. Man.
all of them came into the Savoy Ballroom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The OJs, Mary Wells, Gene Chandler.
We did all of them at the Inver House, which was, at that time, it was Westgate Plaza, but we changed the name to Inver House to add a little class. And brought them in there.
Now, you was doing something in Cleveland, too. Was that the
House of Blues?
Yeah.
Another place was called Music Box. I worked the Music Box with the Dales Artistics,
Yeah.
Chubby Checker.
Now, what was that like for you working with these people that you probably listened to as growing up, and now here
Exactly.
you are, man,
Exactly.
sharing stages with these people. I mean, what
It
did that
didn't
do
bother
for
me.
you?
I was having a ball, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
A lot of cats, it went to their head, but to me, I was just doing what I was supposed to do. You know, as long as they didn't interfere with what I was doing, I was all right with that. Opening for them? Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Rudy Ray Moore.
Oh, yeah. Well, now, through Rudy, I ended up getting, one of the guys that traveled with him had a group on Little Richard's show. Theodore Tony had a group called Four T's. He had come here to Hurricane after Richard did a show at the arena, and I met him up at the Hurricane. My cousin come home and got me and said, "Man, there's somebody I want to meet you." Took me down to the Hurricane, introduced me to Rudy. Rudy introduced me to Tony. They invited me down to the hotel the next day while they were on rehearse. And from there, that's how I got to go to LA and record, and they got me signed with Atlantic.
Get out, Atlantic Records. Well, look here, we're going to talk some more about. Did you know all this about this guy, man?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been well familiarized with Bobby's history. As a matter of fact, we even on our new record, we had one of the songs where Bobby was just sort of telling this whole story
Is that right?
through the course of the song.
Yeah.
So it was, and for me, of course, Atlantic Records was it. Just one of the all-time great labels. I think no one would argue that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The people they had working for them, every one of them a legend in their own right. And just the fact that every time I bring Bobby onto the stage, I make sure people know.
Oh, man, he gets on my nerves with that, man. That
Hey,
drives me
hey, look, he's
crazy.
just giving you your props.
That's
man.
right. You earned
You
that.
know, you're giving you your props,
yeah.
man.
Like I said, I was having
That's
fun.
something to be proud of.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
something to
yeah,
be
and
proud
you
of.
earned it.
Now, you mentioned some more music. Somebody said something about some more music. Y'all got some more music for us?
We got
So
something
we-
from our new CD coming.
Got a new CD coming out.
Got a new one
Y'all
coming.
gonna have to look out for this new
Yeah,
CD now.
yeah.
Now look here. So when we come back, we're gonna talk a little bit more about the Atlantic Records and all that. Okay.
Okay.
But what's the name of the song you want to give us?
Can't change.
Can't change.
No, we were going to do the ballad here. We got a nice little ballad Bobby going to sing.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, we got
Okay.
One-way ticket.
One-way
it's called.
ticket.
Okay, Jimmy said you're gonna do the ballad.
Okay, we'll do the ballad.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, now that I'm all changed up here, I can't go back to the other one.
he's the music director, so I ain't got no
All
problem
right.
with that.
That's Mr. Jimmy Wild Root Dolan,
Dolan.
and Mr. Bobby Wayne.
That's
We'll be right back.
Well, the leaves are falling down like rain. And there's a heartache calling out your name. And a windy whispered sigh is telling me goodbye, like a one-way ticket on the southbound midnight train. Well, the dawn is dining on the night. And there's a poet pining to tell the blind of sight. And the fading embers show such grace in letting go, like a one-way ticket on the southbound midnight train. Now when the train, it goes down the track, I wonder if she's ever coming back. And when I hear that whistle blow, I wonder why my baby had to go. I can shake it and make it on my own. But honey, I won't fake it. No, no. I'm feeling so alone. And here I will remain, and my heartache rides again like a one-way ticket on the southbound midnight train.
All right, we're here talking with one of Pittsburgh's premier soul singers for the past 30 years, Mr. Bobby Wayne, and his musical partner, Mr. Jimmy Wildroot Nolan. Hey, look here. Now, when we left, we were talking about Atlantic Records. But before we talk about that, man, that song you guys just did, man, I love that song. Tell us a little bit about that song.
He's the writer.
Okay.
He can tell you more about it than I can.
Yeah, well, tell us about that song. Where did that song come from? I mean, what inspired you to write that one?
Well, I got to say, I love the form of the standard, and I've always loved that, those jazz standards. And I've always considered myself a blues player, but the thing that I think is overlooked so often by what maybe is referred to blues, in the modern audience, they don't understand that a song like that really is a blues song. Mm-hmm. So for me, my writing and my understanding of what the blues is and how big an impact it is, a lot of people would consider that a jazz song that I know that are blues, so-called blues aficionados. But as my understanding of blues expanded, I really fell in love with that sort of standard sound. Mm-hmm. So I was trying over a period of time to work more in those chord forms, a little broader than the standard
right.
1-4-5 or the more Delta Chicago style blues.
I was going to ask you about that. Because I hear that Delta style in there.
Yeah. I love that music. And that was probably my strongest influence, and then, of course, all the guys that went electric from there, from the Delta to Chicago. And, those are the guys that really caught my attention early on. From Muddy, Freddie King, and then the British invasion guys that just fell in love with them. Oddly enough, in Pittsburgh, we had the tradition of blues was almost overlooked. We had soul, we had great jazz, but as we were talking earlier about, like in the Harlem Renaissance, there was too much stigma with the blues. Mm-hmm. They were trying to make like a delineation between what was really, the intellectual pursuits of black culture, and it felt to me over the years as I had looked back on it that, Pittsburgh, Bobby and I have been working now together for years, and, he's done more blues with me, although, there's Bobby Bland and people that have really crossed over and stayed really true to the roots of blues, but anyway, getting back to that song, so that was just something. When I come up with an arrangement like that, I had a little more poignant feeling to the lyric, and it meant something. And I always thought it was one of my strongest lyrics, and I could never really interest most blues singers in it. the song. They thought, I don't know what they thought really, but as soon as Bobby got it, it's, it found a home there. So,
Yeah. He made it his own.
He really did.
Well, let me ask you this: what came first, the music or the lyrics?
That one, once again, I'd have to say probably, like I say, working with that form of the jazz standard.
So the music came first?
And then once I found something, and it was also, to me, I don't know if you hear it in there or not, but there was like a little Gershwin stuff in those opening changes too. So, of course, there was another guy that just, shocked me as there was a classical player, but he was, steeped in the blues. He loved the blues, just like when Marcellus has a quote that I love to repeat, which was, if it ain't blues, it ain't jazz.
Okay.
And I so for me, and that kind of let me, off the hook. I called myself a blues player. I kind of felt like I couldn't fit with jazz guys, but the truth was we were a lot closer all along than I realized at the time. And then since then, like on this record here, having the opportunity to work with Roger Humphreys, Dwayne Dolphin, these are guys 20 years ago, if I got on a stage with them, man, I wanted to crawl off after about 5 minutes because they were just such wonderful, so completely accomplished, and it took me a long time to grow. But it was what I mentioned before about if I wrote something of my own, people couldn't be so critical of mine. I could take that time and develop it. And, fortunately for me, when the caliber of people that are working with us now came to it, it was a real fulfilling time for me.
Yeah. Well, what about Atlantic Records? So we talked about Atlantic, Average White Band, Aretha Franklin, Bobby Wayne. Hey, what was that like? Were you recording at that time?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. Matter of fact, let's see, that was 1970. My first 45 was called Heart of a Poor Man on Atlantic. The flip side was a cover, Make Me Yours by Betty Swan. So yeah, I was recording then. They turned down my second record though, and that made me mad.
I should have made you mad. Well, what do you like more, the recording process or performing live?
Both.
You like them equally the same?
You got to have them both. You got to have them both.
Yeah.
I enjoy being able to create. Recording, you can create. I mean, they can give you the formula to go by, but as far as how it's going to sound and how it's going to get you're going to extend it to the public is entirely on you.
Right. Now, the first time you walked into a recording studio to record, do you remember that experience?
Yeah. I was in awe. I really was. I mean, I had traveled the road with the bands and stuff, so that was nothing. I mean, that was automatic. I knew I could do that. But in the studio, they put you in a box, and they're looking at you, and they hit the switch and tell you what they would. Oh man, that was,
A whole nother world. Huh?
Yeah, but it didn't take me long to pick it up, and to get comfortable with it. And then after time, let's say I was recording in the studio out in Hollywood, California. Man, guy named, I forget his name, but the name of his production company, Wednesday Child Productions. And they just recorded, Major Harris, they had him out there to do something on OK. So, yeah, that was an experience, man.
Yeah. Well, you and Jimmy just did some recording here recently. You're getting ready to give us a CD, is that correct?
Well, we're getting ready to release a new one, yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. What's this CD coming out that you guys been working on?
February, and it's called Saturday Night.
Saturday Night. Yeah. Well, I guess you two have been collaborating on this?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I like the stuff he writes. It has such, content, In other words, it deals with the emotions different situations at different times, and I can relate to a lot of them.
Yeah.
So when he write it, man,
You'd be like, hey, that's me.
Yeah, man, quit talking about me
You
like
quit
that.
talking about me. Well, Jimmy, tell us about what's some of the songs. So what's some of the songs about, man?
Well, you got to hear two of them there. The ballad, which we had just a great performance turned in by Roger and Dwayne, which you'd expect nothing less when you talk musicians of that caliber. And we have a great friend, Bud Hall, who's doing the production work, and he has a studio called Beacon Hill. And actually, I'd gone to Nashville. We were beating our heads against the wall here a little bit, for a few years. We were working in some bands, and we knew we had something to offer. We had felt, but we couldn't. We just couldn't seem to get the right combination of people. We'd get really close, and I go to Nashville, and I had some friends down there that were doing pretty well, and they said, "Come on down. There's an awful lot of people and a lot of recording." So I go there, and I end up meeting a producer from Dormont while I was in Nashville.
That right?
And I came home after being there for a few months and started right to work with Buddy and Bobby and Fred DeLue, a great keyboard player, played with Roy Buchanan and toured the world with him. And then just some wonderful singers, Yolanda Barber. I don't know if you know Yolanda.
You toured the what?
Well, Fred toured the world with this gentleman named Roy Buchanan, who was really a highly renowned blues guitarist.
Yeah.
He was. They actually dubbed him the greatest unknown guitarist in the world, Roy Buchanan. Right? And just the fact that he's listed in, there's books about Roy, and he has a lot of guitarists who are really devoted to trying to duplicate his style, which happens, Great guitarists, from George Benson on, everybody finds someone they love and you try to, emulate your heroes. Well, Fred was one of his main sidemen, and Billy Price, who you may know here from the Pittsburgh area, sang with Roy at Carnegie Hall in New York, and they recorded a live album up there. But just finding Buddy and finding a real producer who took a real interest, and he took this music from, I could sit there, the next song we're going to play, I sat there and played the riff. He had drum tracks down to it. The next day the horns were in, Bobby sang it, and in 24 hours for about $200 we had a cut.
Is that right?
It was just, the guy has real talent. And just, I felt like he was really getting me. And it had been a while. The last producer I worked with was diabetic and passed away. And I really been lost for years without it. You need that. It's as important as anything.
Yeah, it's another member of the band, actually.
Oh, yeah.
A producer will make or break you.
Oh, yeah, no question.
Yeah, that's great, man.
So it gave us our chance to work together and record together, and I can't believe it's been this long, but we started a year ago on this project.
I was going to ask you that, how long you've been working on this?
It's been, well, that's the other thing, we're trying to just sort of make this on our own, and not be beholden to investors and that. And
right.
We've managed to get by, but in no small part to Buddy's generosity and the endless hours he's put in on it. But he believes in the project too, which is, that's an edifying experience when you get a guy there who's, that's his living, and he's willing to put hours in just to make it a better product. When I'm running short on cash or whatever. So we've been very fortunate. And
he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's one of the good guys.
Yeah, he is one of the good guys. So we're finally getting to that point. We've made our deadline, and we're just ready to go to work. And finally, we have a piece of product that we think will really represent us well. So
yeah. So you talking about doing some live dates?
Oh yeah, that 14th date will be one. That'll be our first date as a band behind this record.
Okay.
So we're really looking forward to that.
I'll tell you the truth, man. Me personally, I don't think you guys need a band, man. You two sound excellent, man. Just what you working with, man.
Hold it. What you talking about? Don't need a band. I got to have a horn section.
I know you want the horns.
You know what I mean?
But what I'm saying is you sound real good without them.
Thank you very much, Sam.
You know what I mean?
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm serious, man. I'm a musician, I know.
That's right.
And you guys, man, you blowing me away, man. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. I heard about Bobby,
Right.
but I've never met him. He sang with my big brother, Billy
Billy
Herndon.
Herndon from
You
These
know,
Gents.
These Gents, man. Let's tell a little talk a
Man, there you
little
go.
bit about
Man,
that.
3 Gents. These Gents is the name of the group. Now, there's 3 guys.
Leroy Grammer,
Leroy Grammer,
Richard Harris,
Richard Harris,
Billy
and
Herndon.
Billy Herndon. Man, we was I remember working called Basin Street East in Boston. We were opening the show for Maxine Brown. She come in there with a 3-piece. Oh man, they gave us a fit. That's how good they were. So I told, when they took a break, I sat back there and I said, hey y'all. I said, look here, man. They making us look kind of, bad here. I said, we got to do something about this. I don't let nobody hit me in the mouth and walk away. They said, well, what are we going to do? I said, I know just the thing to do, man. We're going to have a finale. We're going to open, let her do what she want to do. As soon as she finished doing what she want to do, we coming right back, and we're going to hit her back. And that's what we did.
That's what you did.
Man, when we finished, she said, who y'all record for? We said, nobody. She said, where y'all from? Pittsburgh. She said, I was impressed. She said, y'all really giving me a fit here today.
Y'all was doing some serious singing,
man.
huh?
It went from These Gents to These Gents with me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Man, and it's just like watching you thought you were watching the 5 Temps. Because we was that organized. Everything. Oh man. And then I was dressing the part. Oh,
you are?
man.
Like that, I know.
Ooh. I had silk and mohair and all the colors of the rainbow.
Now let me ask you this: would you welcome that situation again? Singing in like a quartet singing group, like a Temptation style singing group, or do you like singing solo?
Well, I guess I could do that there in a group. Only one thing that bugs me the most about that, and that is everybody has to be on the same page.
Yeah.
With Richard, Billy, and Leroy, they had their parts already worked out, you know what I mean, as far as the group was concerned. I only added extra dimension to it, with a 4th. Mm-hmm. And I did what I wanted to do, and they did the 3-man thing. So it was just like us being a group. Mm-hmm. We got so close together that when we came back here to Pittsburgh, Elmer Williams had this post 755 up on the hill. He went as far as to have a microphone made with the 5 points.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he had it made. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Oh man, you couldn't tell us nothing because then we didn't have to worry about the mics.
Right.
They was already there. So all we had to do was move, groove.
You wouldn't happen to have any pictures of that era, would you?
No. I'm sure there were, photographers going to all the clubs taking pictures. You know what I mean?
Calvin Skinner used to take a lot of pictures. I don't know.
Well, Cal, he took a lot of pictures of me. Who else? There was a guy named Red. There was a Goins. And who else? There was a couple of them. But no.
Well, if any of you photographers are out there and you have some of these pictures of these eras we're talking about, we would love to see you. And we'd love to have you come on and share some of these pictures of what it was like back in the day. And now, Bobby, we got this, I got some CDs in my hand here. Wayne Boykin.
That's my name.
All right? Make Me Yours.
That was
and Heart of a Poor Man.
That was the first recording on Atlantic.
This is your first recording.
Catalog 2670.
Yeah, that would. Now, A Long Hard Road.
That was the second one I did, and
Now, see, Bobby,
I wrote some of
you
the
wrote
stuff on
tunes
there.
Yeah, that's the
Did
thing.
Yeah, see, I did.
Bobby's a writer too.
Yeah.
Oh, Long Hard Road I wrote. Um, Last Time I Cry I wrote. Yeah. Penitentiary Man I wrote.
No, no. How do you write? I mean, do you have to be inspired? Does something have to, or you just sit down and say, "I'm gonna write a "Oh Baby, Why You Leave Me" song," or "I'm gonna write a," or does something have to happen to inspire you to start writing about it?
Well, at some point, some things have happened. Now, Penitentiary Man, I wrote that in the point, in the penitentiary, and I sent a copy of it. At the time, had a radio. They were doing a thing on Whammo periodically about life and the things that you go through, and I wrote it as a poem, really. So I wrote the poem. I sent them a copy. They never got back to me, so I just held it. And then when I got out, I hooked up. I ran across Danny. We got together and put it together.
Yeah. Now, Hit That Thing.
Yeah, I wrote that.
You wrote this whole CD.
No, not the whole CD. I think I got 3 or 4 on there. And that would be, okay, Dig Yourself I wrote. Hit That Thing I wrote. Life of the Party I wrote. Time I wrote.
Okay. Now, there's a song on here that Richard Harris let me hear, Homestead Graves.
Okay, that
Where
was
did you come across that song?
another writer by the name of Mike Sweeney.
Okay.
Fine writer, yeah.
Yeah, and
That's another beautiful song on here.
he brought it to me and he said, "What do you think, man?" I told him, I said, "I got to have it."
Yeah, and you did it, man. You did it, because I heard it. And you really did it. You did an excellent job on it. Now, no, Soul Station.
Sweeney again.
Okay.
I think I got maybe 1 or 2 on there. But
Of course, we can't let it go by without mentioning our main man, the horn arranger, arranged strings and vocals, Danny Donahue.
Oh, really?
He is he's been such an asset this whole time as well. And all these records, he was integral in that.
and he also
played for him.
He played on a lot of that.
you on the stuff.
Just hired as a session player.
Well, let me ask you this: how did you guys meet? How did that all come about? How did you paths cross?
Let's say as far as work goes, we met through Danny.
Yeah, we met through Danny.
As far as working together, Danny,
So you didn't know each other prior to that?
I'd seen him since the 70s playing in bands and met a few times, but as far as, I'd get into, off into a writing or start working on a record or get into production work, and I'd stay out of the clubs for a while. And so we were, just sort of missing each other. And then we met, you remember the Decade out in Oakland, the club called the Decade?
Yeah.
I brought him into the Decade one night, and I was working with another band and another singer, who I won't mention here, but the guy from the Decade, the owner of the club, goes, "Man, he is so much better than that other guy."
Yeah.
And he said, "When are you guys going to come in there and work for me?" And we'd, since that day, we'd been trying to put a band together, and we succeeded in varying degrees. But Danny was one of those guys who just felt like we belonged together, and he pursued it always. He always did. He always would be there in my ear, or Bobby's ear, and say, "You guys got to be working together."
He's
And he was
worrying
right.
me, man. He aggravates me to no end. But I love the guy. Hey, he's a good guy, man.
Right.
And he had my interest at heart as well as his own. So it wasn't a one-way thing.
That's right.
So that was cool. I like.
Well, I'm glad you guys working together, man, because I really enjoy what you're doing.
Thank you, Ted.
And I really enjoy you coming on, sharing your music and some of your lives with us, man.
Oh, thank you.
It's been a real gas.
Timmy, you've been how can I say it? You're a bright spot in my life at present.
Well, I appreciate that.
Seriously. I'm glad that I finally met you. I had talked about you with another friend of yours, and when he told me about it, I said, "Oh man, not that man. I don't need." He said, "Man, you'll like him." I said, "How you know who I'll like?" You know. But I told him. He said, "Well, I said, well, how can I get in touch with him?" He said, "Well, I'll put him in touch with you." Fine. And that's what happened.
Mm-hmm. Here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah. Mr. Bobby Wayne.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Jimmy, I appreciate you coming on. Now, you guys going to leave us with a song, correct?
I think we got one more. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
what you want to leave us with?
This is
Can't change.
I can't change.
I can't change?
I can't change.
Okay, he can't change. He ain't going to change.
Not
All
that
right.
we don't want to.
I done got to change.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bobby Wayne and Mr. Jimmy Wildroot Dolan. Take us home,
Let's
guys.
get your microphone up there, Bobby.
Okay.
Ready?
All right, I'm ready. I've known trouble all of my days. It's how I learned my wicked ways. Whiskey, weed, and another man's wife. In Texas, that could cost your life. Believing there ain't no hope for me. Begging. Oh no, I can't change. I can't change. I can't change. It seems the only help I get is a county farm and a cigarette. The time that I get relief is to help some woman through her grief. Believing there ain't no hope for me. I'm begging. Oh no, I can't change. I can't change. I can't change. I can't change. I can't change, no. Oh, somebody help me. I want to change. Somebody help me. I can't change now. Gonna be tough. Tough enough, yeah. Gonna be tough, yeah. Tough enough, yeah. I can't change, no. I don't want to.